The rain that evening was a soft kind, the sort that blurs city lights into halos and makes the air smell faintly of iron and stone. Alexander Hale left his office later than usual, the tall glass tower behind him now dim, but for the occasional light, still glowing in executive floors. He loosened his tie, the leather of his shoes tapping steady against the wet pavement. His ritual was the same each night. One last call to his daughter before she drifted to sleep, her small voice a tether against the hollowness of corporate rooms and endless negotiations. "Good night, Daddy," she whispered, and the call ended with the soft static of her breath still in his ear. He slipped the phone into his pocket, a faint smile lingering. The world felt quieter after her goodnights, as though he carried her hush in his chest. The parking lot stretched ahead, slick and shining under half-broken lamps. His car waited near the far end, black paint slicked by rain. As he stepped closer, a pair of headlights swept suddenly across the street. For a brief instant, the night was painted stark white, and in that split-second frame Alexander saw something that did not belong. Figures, 3 of them. A stroller overturned in the gutter. A woman's silhouette pulled back against the wall, arms tightening around a bundle. And then the scream. High, sharp, breaking into the rain like glass. His body moved before thought could catch up, shoes splashing through puddles. He cut across the street, voice low but steady, the kind of tone that unsettles more than it threatens. "Stop." The men turned, shadows sharp in the sudden wash of headlights. One cursed, lunging forward, but Alexander's hand caught his shoulder, pushing him back with the unflinching strength of a man who had built not just companies, but a life from fractures. Another shoved, fists flying, but the city was no stranger to conflict, and soon a passerby shouted, drawing more eyes. The attackers, unwilling to risk witnesses, retreated into the dark, boots pounding against slick pavement until the night swallowed them whole. Silence pressed close again. Only the rain remained, and the trembling sound of a baby's cry. Alexander knelt, riding the stroller with hands that did not shake. The woman clutched her child tightly, her hair plastered to her face, eyes wide with shock. "It's all right," he murmured, his voice gentler now, softer than he even meant it to be. The baby reached, tiny fingers curling around his hand, clinging with a trust that felt undeserved but undeniable. He didn't leave her there. The thought never crossed him. His car door opened, and she slid inside with hesitant steps, clutching her child to her chest. The drive back was quiet, city lights reflected in rain that streaked the windows like slow tears. She tried to speak once, words catching in her throat, but fell silent again. His penthouse had always been a place of order, gleaming surfaces, shelves arranged with precision, a home designed to impress, but never to hold warmth. Yet when the woman stepped inside, dripping and fragile, with her baby murmuring against her shoulder, the sterile air seemed to shift. Something human threaded through the cold design. She gave her name softly, almost apologetic. Elena. The baby stirred at the sound, as though her voice was its anchor. He found himself in the kitchen, sleeves rolled, fumbling with bottles and warm water like a novice. He was a man who moved millions with a signature, who commanded boardrooms with a look. Yet here, in the half-light, he shook a bottle as though it were glass spun from gold. Elena watched, a quiet wonder in her eyes, as though she'd never seen someone so powerful look so clumsy, and yet so intent. In the days that followed, her story trickled out in fragments. At first, just hints. The men were not strangers. They had followed her for weeks. She had been running, moving from shelter to shelter, her baby always in her arms, never leaving her sight. Shame coated her silences, fear woven through her pauses. Alexander didn't press. He only listened. He knew that some truths must be given, not demanded. Rituals began to form in the cracks of their days. Breakfasts with laughter spilling from his daughter's mouth when she visited, her small hands eager to hold the baby. Evening silences broken by the sound of Elena humming lullabies in a language Alexander didn't know. Little things, steam rising from coffee, the soft rhythm of a rocking chair, that began to weave the threads of something that looked, impossibly, like family. One night, When the city outside was hushed and heavy, Elena finally spoke what she had carried like a stone. The baby's father. Her voice fractured. She clutched her child tighter. He's a man of power. Power that does not forgive mistakes. Power that hides what does not fit his world. He would rather erase this child than claim him. The words hung heavy, pressing into the room. Alexander did not answer at once. His mind, so used to weighing profit and risk, now weighed only courage and cruelty. He looked at her, the worn lines of fear in her face, the stubborn grace that had carried her through, and he felt shaken not by scandal, but by the raw, terrible strength it had taken to run. But the past is never content to remain in whispers. It was another evening, headlights sweeping once more across his driveway, that shadows appeared again, this time bolder. Watching, waiting, Alexander stood in the doorway, rain on his shoulders, his frame a wall between Elena and the night. His daughter lingered at the stairwell, small face pale with fear, but trusting him with all the faith only children can carry. Not in this house, Alexander said, quiet but immovable, and something in his voice, something unyielding, was enough to halt them until the blue lights of police arrived, sirens breaking the night apart. Yet Elena knew this was not an ending, not until she chose to stand, not just run. In the quiet after, she sat with him in the kitchen, the baby asleep at last. She whispered, "I have not felt safe in years." Her eyes were wet, but her shoulders lighter, as though just saying it had taken weight from her chest. He didn't answer. He only set a mug before her, steam curling between them like a fragile bridge. Days turned to weeks. His daughter's bond with Elena deepened, as natural as breath. One morning, unthinking, she slipped her hand into Elena's, tugging her to the breakfast table as though she had always belonged there. Elena's eyes met Alexander's across the room, and in that glance lay 1,000 unspoken things. Love did not come as thunder, but as a slow bloom. A night on the balcony, the baby asleep inside, city lights flickering like scattered stars. Elena leaned into his shoulder, her voice barely more than a hush. "I haven't felt at home in years." His arm wrapped around her quietly, steady as earth, no declarations needed. Dawn came soft, with the first laugh of the baby echoing through the penthouse. A laugh so pure it silenced even the city beyond the windows. His daughter clapped. Elena wept, and Alexander felt something shift inside him, something that had been waiting to open. He thought, sometimes family isn't found in blood. Sometimes it is chosen in the dark and kept in the light. His hand rested over Elena's, then over the baby's, 3 lives bound not by fate, but by choice. And in that choice lay a future he had never dared to hope for. If this story has stirred something in you, let it travel beyond these words. Share it with someone who needs a reminder of quiet kindness and second chances. And if you long for more tales where love is found in unexpected places, where hope blooms even in the dark, subscribe and walk with us into the next story.